Welcome, guys, back to another episode of Real Talk in My Rooms. Today, I have a very special guest, Lia, my wonderful friend I met in the industry.
Yes.
So can you give everybody a little bit of an intro of what you do?
Absolutely. Yes. Thanks for having me, Amanda. Hi, my name is Lia. I am the chief cocktail creator and founder of my company, Jersey Drinks, a creative cocktail company based up in northern New Jersey. But yeah, I've been working in the industry, cocktails, events, pretty much my whole life, my corporate job. And then I started doing this already almost 5 years ago, which is kind of crazy during the pandemic.
I was just going to say, did you start it during the pandemic?
Yes. So my corporate job at the time during the pandemic, I was working experiential events, festivals, sponsorships, brand activations, as well as bartender advocacy, training, education programs. So I'm sure, no surprise, we're all pretty bored, stuck at home. And one day my girlfriend, like maybe early summer of 2020, was like, "Hey, what do you think of doing a cocktail class for my team? We're all really bored." I was like, "I'm a live events girl, but you know what? We're going to figure this out."
Yeah.
And I made it work and learned a lot from that very first virtual cocktail class. A little painful, a little bit awkward, but we
start somewhere, right?
Exactly. Figure it out. You got to get that learnings on the job. But
Yeah.
so, yeah, that was, like I said, maybe like June, July of 2020. And just from there, it was like word of mouth. Some social media started picking up. And I was super busy during the pandemic, which was awesome.
Did you start your business at that point? Like when you were, or were you like, was it, so like, if you can also like explain where you got your name from?
Yeah. So I get that question a lot and it's so funny. So obviously Instagram has blown up over the last decade and change. So my personal page started getting just flooded with cocktails. And I was like, okay, time to separate. I think we need a dedicated page. So I started that actually in like 2018. So I kind of had this like dormant social media page I was just sort of, messing around with. And Jersey Drinks was just probably a shower thought. I have no idea. I
love it.
Yeah, I had thought about like, I don't know, cocktails because what I had so many ideas and nothing was sticking. And one day I was just like, Jersey Drinks. I'm a Jersey girl. I mean, living, breathing leopard every day of my life. And I can't believe that the handle was open.
That's honestly, I'm shocked too.
Yeah.
And it's such a great name. It's such like a name that's like, because you want a name that people are going to remember.
Yes.
And that is one of those names. Like
It's
Jersey Drinks,
easy.
you're going to remember. Like if you're at an event and like someone, I don't know, you don't have your business cards because you're setting up for some reason. And another vendor is like, okay, I got to go. You say Jersey Drinks, like they're going to remember that.
Yep.
It's not like it's like a name where like, man, what was that?
Yeah. And I got lucky. No underscore, no numbers, no nothing weird.
Just straight up.
Yeah, just Jersey Drinks. And, I do focus primarily on cocktails, but I think it definitely has given me flexibility to like, I love coffee. I'm drinking some right now.
Shout out to Coco.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for the fuel. But so yeah, I do like cocktails and mocktails. So the Instagram, I kind of picked that back up a little bit as well. Right. Again, we were all home during COVID, bored. So I was like, I was making a martini at like 4 PM. Why the hell not? Let's share the recipe. So it started just kind of for that. And then I went through 2020 just sort of figuring it out. And then I became a legitimate business in 2021 when I filed like an LLC, all the fun behind the scenes stuff that no one likes to tell you about, in college or business classes.
You literally, So how did you learn it all?
The internet.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. Like a lot of, because you don't learn these things. And it's like, you kind of wish you did.
Exactly.
At least to get something. I mean, like, how many people have decided to kind of go this entrepreneur route and do it? And like, you're learning it all literally. Google becomes your best friend.
Oh my God.
Because ChatGPT wasn't around.
Yeah, no, that's
during
a whole
COVID.
New thing. That
Which,
I'm like,
man, if that was around during COVID, I feel like
I have a multi-million-dollar business.
literally.
But yeah, so I kind of, became, like I said, legit in like 2021. And then I guess through 21, it was still that kind of weird time, but I was just doing so many virtual events. It was like amazing. And then I guess early 22, when things kind of started opening up again, I was like, well, okay, shit, now we got to go back to like in-person events. Like, how do we pivot and keep this going? So thankfully, the corporate role that I was still in, I was very fortunate and get fired. The team was let go, but previously in that role, I had run a similar program for one of my past clients. It was the Consumer Cocktail Academy. So we would be going and doing kind of like what I was doing for the brand I was working with at the time. So we would set up, cocktail stations, a shaker, a jigger, a muddler. So I kind of
Cool.
dug back, that was in maybe like 2015, 2016. So I was like, all right, I've done this before for other people. Like now we're going to do it for ourselves. And so, oh my gosh, I invested like a good chunk of money at the time. I had to buy, shakers,
Of
strainers, all
course.
the bar
Stuff that's also on
tools.
brand for like what you want, right? Like, because you don't want
Exactly.
to just
Yeah, like
get,
a random. Like I want
yeah.
it to be cute. I want it to, be easy for someone to navigate who doesn't really know how to make drinks. So I invested in all this stuff. I invested in, I create little mixer bottles. I make everything from scratch. So everyone has their own, strawberry simple syrup, their homemade agave with jalapeno. So I invested in all this stuff and I'm like, is this going to work? Am I going to go through the inventory? And I have reordered all of those tools many, many times now.
I love it. I love it. You took a leap of
Yeah.
faith in yourself.
Exactly. But definitely in those early days, I started because fresh is always best is my mantra. I think I need to get a t-shirt that says that.
You should. You so
right?
should.
So I'm going to put
And like
trademark it
Jersey
for
drinks
that.
on the back. Like, yeah, you have to do it.
So I'm really big on super fresh ingredients, whether I make them, but I was teaching people how to use fresh citrus. You can't, a classic delicious margarita, it's going to stand out when you use fresh lime juice. So when I started, I was like, okay, we're going to really get everyone involved. I was bringing like knives and citrus, and I quickly was like, I'm not going to have people drinking alcohol cutting things. So like I've done
True.
I was like,
true.
There was one event like in my
God.
small Jersey City apartment, and I'm like, knives are falling on the floor. I'm like, I think this will be the last time.
That was a good learning lesson.
So I do have a lot of paring knives in my inventory now.
There you go. There you go.
We learned.
So speaking of learning, so this has been like 5 years, right? Now,
Yeah.
Because we're in 2025, which
I know,
is wild.
crazy.
What are some things that you would tell yourself when you were starting out that you've learned now? What are some things that you've learned that if you could go back to that?
Yeah. Try not to take it too personally. I feel like that's something I've kind of struggled with. And especially now in my own business that like, you're not for everyone.
Yeah.
You're not going to book every single client who inquires. And it's something I still struggle with. We're still growing, but you set your prices, like don't back down. And I just think like, you know what, then I'm not for you. If you cater to everyone, you cater to no one.
Amen.
And so I think that's something that I'm trying to kind of keep an open mind about, and something that I'm working on, as we grow and we learn. So
I love that. And I think that's like, it's so true. Cause like in the beginning too, I feel like because you're not entirely sure who your ideal client is. And also when you're starting off, it's kind of like, sure, like you just kind of take on, right? Like whatever you can in the beginning, but then you start to learn. And then like, also, like you said, when people aren't answering inquiries or getting back, it's not personal. And like, I truly do feel like everything happens for a reason.
100%.
And maybe that would have been a disastrous party that you would have, you know what I mean? Like everything happens for a reason. So
true.
And it's not personal. If everybody likes you, then do you like yourself?
Exactly.
Because it's like, are you showing up? Yeah.
Authentically.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I think I also would say on that topic, like the social media balance has been something, again, I still struggle with. Like it's a very saturated market. So it's been trying to just like be yourself. Like I get, I guess the imposter syndrome is real. And it's like, are people going to care what I'm saying? I don't like to put my face on screen. I'm like, does my hair look okay? I'm like, you know what? If you keep waiting for perfect, it's never going to
You're going to keep waiting. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's been something else. And I think the last thing going back that you're a small business owner, right? Where we can only do so much, but I think I'm learning as I've become a little bit more established that it's okay to get help. And that's something this year I've been starting to kind of look like I could really use an assistant. Like running a cocktail class for 20 women is pretty hard by myself. So
it is.
I'm trying to realize that like it's okay to let go a little bit and that like it's okay to ask for help and to take the help. So
I love that. Yeah. Then those are like so important too. Like especially in the beginning, it's hard to ask for help because you might not be able to like afford the help, right? Or like even but there's always a way you could figure it out.
Exactly.
And if you don't ask, the answer's always no, right? So it's like
favorite words.
You have to ask.
Exactly.
You have to. Exactly. But again, in the beginning, it's hard. So like, would you say? So what's like one trying event that has happened? Like, what is one of like that you've learned from, like something besides the drinking and the fresh?
I think I've learned that is very specific to kind of what I've been doing. The biggest learning for me is that like not everyone's palate is the same. So trying to kind of make sure that I'm curating my menus and events in a way that will have a good end result for the consumer.
Yeah.
So as I've kind of been playing with recipes and seeing the clientele, like I'll always kind of suggest, sweetening is a big one. I've gotten a lot of people like, I don't really want to put the sugar in this, but then they're like, oh, well, this drink is really sour. I'm like, well,
You need the
let's,
sugar.
we need a little bit of the simple syrup. So I've tried to kind of take an approach where I'm like teaching people, but then also teaching people that you can make the drink your own.
And
So kind of like let's start this out with half an ounce of the agave. If you want to add more, you can always add, but you can't take away.
yeah.
So trying to, right on the note of not pleasing everyone, I do really care about that consumer
Of
experience.
course, which is
So
huge.
I've kind of adapted the way that I like give the recipe specs and things like that. So that's definitely been something I've sort of dealt with a bit, and people are like, oh, it's too sweet, and I'm like, okay, so let's dial it back.
Yeah.
Honestly, for the most part, I've been very fortunate, and I've had amazing people at my events, and everyone's always so nice
Love
and
that.
so receptive. Definitely been in some tight situations. I do a lot of in-home events, so I kind of never know what I'm getting into.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I've been in, tiny Jersey City apartments, and then I've had some clients in really more affluent areas. I have these like amazing kitchens. So it's just really being adaptable to the kind of
Being able to
clientele.
work around with what you have. Yeah.
I actually just recently this was the first for me, an event, fantastic group of girls. And she had told me it was going to be at a restaurant. So I assumed it
Interesting.
was a private room, as I had sent her a lot of videos.
Yeah.
And I hosted a class for 20 women in the middle of a fully open and operating.
My God. Everybody was watching you.
Yeah.
Everyone was learning that day.
Okay. But it was really funny because then, a couple people were like trying to flag me down. I was like, I'm so sorry, I don't work there. They're like, we know. So it was actually.
So you could.
Yeah, I gave out some cards.
There you go. See?
I think I lost my voice. I usually do try to bring, a little mic if it's a big group, but I'm like, I'm not going to.
The restaurant, you're going to be like, hello, everybody.
Yeah, I'm like, what the hell? So,
welcome.
Yeah. So that was a more recent thing, but it's, I was just trying to adapt. Yeah, we made it work. And
I love
it
that.
Was fun.
I love that you make it work, and like no matter what situation you're in. So that means you're also like quick on your toes.
You got to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You have to be. As you hear things from this one, from that one. There's been a time or two where I'm like, crap, I forgot to bring a jigger to someone's house. So I'm like, we're going to teach you guys how to use things in, 2 tablespoons equals 1 ounce.
I see like the pivoting for that.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge too for people to know, because a lot of people go into, I feel like the business, and they're like, they like get all like nervous, like, oh my God, like what's going to happen? Like there's always something that could happen.
Always.
And you have to just be able to like
100%
pick yourself up and just act like
Adapt.
It's cool. We're gonna make it happen.
Yep. It's definitely hard for my very type A personality who likes to plan everything, but being in events generally, I think that's totally something. You have to, like, things happen, things go wrong. And so I have tried to create my kind of like event toolkit, if you will, where I always have, cleaning supplies, extra cups, paper towels, garbages. It's been shocking that like none of these people have like enough garbages in their homes. So like I'm always like, here, put in their plates, put in their cups. So I try to like see what people don't have in their home and just think ahead, have that, but always something different.
There's always, you're gonna like learn something, but the good thing is that you take it to the next one, because like you said, it's like you might not have had the garbage bags for the other ones, but because you picked up on that, you're like, all right, let me just bring extra.
Better to have and not need.
I love that.
Not have.
Amen.
Thank my dad for that one.
Amen. That's why I'm like, I have a ton of memory, like the cards, my batteries. I'm like everything, because you never know. I've had it in a situation where I had bought in rechargeable batteries, and apparently with this thing. I thought like if it's red, it means it's still charging. And green would mean that it's done.
Yeah. Seems logical.
Yeah, it seems logical. So I see it's green. I'm like, amazing. These are done, charged. And I remember this was at actually Carly Bible's son's first birthday. So I was like, oh my God, like I'm so excited. Like this is a big event. I get to the event, take a couple pictures with the flash, and then all of a sudden my batteries are dead. And I didn't realize that, because when I plug them in, I'm like, why is it showing green now? It's saying they're dead. I'm like, oh, green must mean that they need to be charged. So now I'm like panicking. I know, right? Like, what the hell? Who does that? Why would that be a thing? So now I'm like, God, like the party starts a little bit. Like I need to figure this out. So I just like let them charge on the wall.
There you go.
But then I just figured it out. I figured it, like, you change your lighting settings around. You just make it happen.
You gotta get done.
And the pictures came out great, but like it's just crazy because it's like you can either sit there and panic and like have a full blown like meltdown and then like not know what to do, or you could sit there and be like, okay, this does suck right now, but like I'm gonna figure it out and we're gonna make it happen.
Yep,
And like so many like people like you don't think that like everybody in like when you go to an event, right? There's so many different vendors around. You're like thinking like, wow, they have their shit together. Like you never know what they're just like pulled out of their back pocket to make it happen.
Everyone's got to have that emergency. The Mary Poppins bag.
Literally. Exactly. So we worked together recently with an event.
Yes.
And it's something that you actually planned. Is that something now that you're starting to take on?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I was saying earlier, I've kind of been in the spirit space, event production for, my whole corporate career. And I've always been, the friend who's throwing the parties. I remember like planning prom back in high school.
Doing it all.
Yeah. And so obviously I've been doing the cocktail thing and a little bit of bartending, private bartending for the majority of the last 4 or 5 years, that I do kind of miss like curating full events for people. So I was working on a first birthday party, which is a little, it seems like the cocktail girl is doing a first birthday party, but hey, Jersey drinks, it can become.
It's drinks. Exactly.
Yeah. But so I kind of want to expand a little bit because I love that kind of creative side and just bringing someone's vision to life. So I dabbled in that a little bit earlier this year, and I think it was super fun. I'm just trying to figure out kind of, as I've been, again, doing this for a couple years now, like how do I kind of pivot a little bit? Is that an avenue I want to go down? And it was really, really fun. I worked with, amazing vendors such as yourself.
You did a beautiful job.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really fun. We transformed that space. It was like a Amalfi Coast theme.
It looked so good.
But it was great because I got to still curate the bar, and I did a mocktail for the little girl's birthday, a Bella Spritz. So it was really nice to kind of marry my core of my business with something else that I'm really passionate about.
Right.
So I think looking ahead, that's certainly something I want to try to offer more to my guests. And I've been seeing more like themed events that people are doing. So I guess if they tell me I have a theme, I'm like, maybe we can do a tablescape for you and build some things out. So seeing the evolution of Jersey drinks.
I love it. Yeah. It's like you're expanding.
Exactly.
And it's like it does all relatively fall. It's like the same. You know what I mean? It's like you're in the event space.
Exactly. Experiences, like creating memories for people.
Yeah.
And also what I love about the classes too, or just anytime I bartend, I'm talking to people. I'm a spirits cocktail geek. Like I love educating and telling people about what's in their drink or why I picked this spirit versus the other. So just kind of bringing it all together. So
yeah, I love that. And I love how much knowledge you really do have on the drinks and like everything. You just like, even when you came here for the videos, you were just like the information that you had. I'm like, damn, she knows a lot.
Yes. 10 plus years working in the industry. I've gone through WSET. It's Wine Spirit Education Trust program. So I've done level 1, level 2. So been to Mexico a bunch. I've been to Kentucky in the Bourbon Trail, self-taught when I went to Italy drinking all the spritzes. So
love that.
I love traveling to learn this kind of stuff. So
I love it. Is this something that you would think that you were doing like your younger self? Like, did you?
It's funny, yes and no. So my family background, my father was the 4th generation to take over our family's company, Vinvino Wine Company, based in Manhattan, that started in 1910, I believe. I should know that. I just went through a whole history with my dad, but it was a wine import company. So they were importing Italian wines, distributing it in New York City. So I kind of grew up like around hospitality and food and wine and cocktails. My nonu always used to make a Scotch sour, which was like one of the first cocktails I ever had.
Wow.
So you went right in. Yeah. So I've always kind of been in this space, and my mom also, she's an amazing chef. She was always cooking, and they were always throwing parties. And we recently found a home video from Christmas. So I think I was maybe 4. I'm opening a gift from Santa. And I go, oh my gosh, a book on parties. We need this. So I'm like looking back, I'm like, I think I was just destined for this. I knew I always wanted to do something like PR events sort of realm. So I did do that for a bit. I worked in PR on spirits and things like that. So I feel like I kind of knew, but I never knew like what that would transpire into.
Yeah.
My family's company sold in 2016. So while I worked summers and weekends as a kid, like I never fully had that option. So I kind of needed to figure out my own path when that happened. So so like I kind of always knew, but not exactly.
Yeah. It's cool because when you're younger, to see where you like your younger self, like your childhood,
Mhm.
like this is something that you're like, wow, I like planning events, but like you went through what you went through,
Yep.
and all the things that you did go through, you learned something
Exactly.
that has helped you with your business
100%.
today. Like you were saying, like
100%.
you're like, well, actually, I've done this before in person, so let
Yep.
me do it.
Yep.
And I think it gives you that little bit more of a confidence boost when you go to do it.
Absolutely. And each of my husband, it's funny, he's had one job his whole career. And I'm like,
Right.
I think my corporate job, I do still have a corporate job. So we still work that, 9 to 5. But I've had so many different jobs, and each one has totally taught me something new, whether it was a good position or, I was in a really crappy corporate position
Mhm.
where women were like harassing me at work and bullying me. And it was
Mm.
horrible. But looking back, right, I talked a little bit before about not taking it personally. And it's like, clearly they had something against me. I wasn't for them, but
Yep.
I worked with some amazing spirit brands and I made connections with those clients. So I
Yeah.
just left on good terms and said, see you later. And, I realized looking
Yeah.
back, like I did learn a lot from that kind of
There's
experience.
always
And
a learning.
there's
Yeah.
always a light at the end of the tunnel. So whatever
Yeah.
bad situation, you can just keep going.
Yeah, I love that. And so you said your husband he has had his one job, like, right.
Hmm.
How is that like working, like having your own business, plus also working your 9 to 5 and
Yeah.
then
Yeah, it's definitely a lot. My husband's like, you need to like relax or like sit down. I'm like, but if I'm not at work, then I'm home and I have time to, hop on in Canva and try to make like a new page for my cocktail. So it's like,
Yeah.
I'm always doing something because right now I definitely still very committed to my corporate job. I still learn a lot from
Yeah.
them, but I'm super passionate about what I'm doing on my own, that it's like, I commute to Jersey City. So I take a train. So on the commute in, I'm either listening to a podcast about, how to grow your business or
I
social
love
media
that.
tips, or like on the way home, I pop on and answer emails for, client
Yeah.
inquiries. So I try to find that balance. And then it's funny, my company knows they're very, there's no conflict. So I'm
Yeah.
very open about it. My boss was funny. I was telling him about something. He's like, so like, you don't just go home and watch TV after work? I was like, that sounds really nice, but no,
Yeah, you're like, no, no, I
not
don't.
currently.
Not yet.
So yeah, so we're just kind of, doing
This is like your season of doing like the
exactly.
hustle, because it's like right
Exactly.
now it's like you do take
Setting it up
advantage of
for
that time that you have
yep,
to be able to learn or
exactly.
answer the inquiries or whatever million and 10 things that
Yeah.
having your own business,
Going. Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like there's always a million things to
Yeah.
do, like the
You're
to-do
just
list that doesn't
yep.
end.
Social media manager, marketing manager, client services.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a
you're
lot.
doing a lot, but
Do you feel like this is so like what are some of your goals for this year for the business and
yeah.
for even like your personal?
Definitely. So I think something I mentioned a little bit earlier of outsourcing, I've definitely, 5 years ago wasn't in a position where I could maybe hire someone
Hmm.
to help me out. So I think my goal would be certainly to maybe have, whether it's like a VA or a part-time on-site assistant,
Yeah,
I think would be really big for me this year to allow me to like focus on other things.
absolutely.
Trying to find that balance, like I said, if expanding a little bit, evolving, debating like, do I create a new page that's more kind of focused on just like the events and the classes and keep my own page? So I guess a goal is trying to figure out what the evolution in
What the
that
next step?
sense
Yeah.
is. And love doing more podcasts,
Yeah,
just kind
I
of
love
getting out
it.
there and chatting with amazing other women in business, just like yourself.
I
So I
love
think those are
it.
my 3 for the year.
I love that because it's like first of all, being on podcasts, it's never easy. It's like you're stepping out of your comfort
Mm-hmm.
zone, you're answering questions. It's just depending on the pod, you know what I mean? It's just
Yep.
it's stepping out of your comfort zone. So I love that for you. And I think it's great because there's gonna be people that you're gonna reach from all over. Like think about it. You
Mm-hmm.
listen to podcasts
Yeah.
on your,
Yep. Commute
whether
in.
on
Yeah.
your commute, when you're driving, like wherever, like listening to learn, right?
Yeah. You just don't
Someone's gonna
know.
hear your story and they're gonna click with you and like you're gonna be able to impact and help so many people because you're showing up.
Yes.
So I love that.
So I hope so.
Having the help is going to be huge for you.
Yes.
And that's a huge big step too. Because it's for
Scary.
somebody who's like you said, like you're like,
Yeah.
it's like, it's your baby too
Yes.
at the end of the
Handing over
day. And it's
like
like,
the rain. Oh, not the reins. Like just getting someone else involved. It's
and then
like an
finding someone that you could
extension.
trust and
Exactly.
like, yeah, that's challenging too. It
Yep.
is. It's hard, but like that's such a amazing goal to have, and that's going to help you take things to the next level.
Yes.
And I think even just like with your business, like with trying to figure out the Instagram and all that, it's going to come.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I don't know, like maybe you could it's like do it all under Jersey Drinks, but like have like the
The
sub like
sub. Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Because do you have so like you've obviously since you've been doing this for 5 years, you worked with a ton of vendors and different people. Like, do you feel like you built like your own little network of
Yes
people?
and no. I feel like it was hard because again, I started during the pandemic. I
Hmm.
was still living in Hoboken at the time. So it was a lot of, corporate people or just small groups trying to do like a birthday party. But then when things opened up again, I was definitely hosting more public facing classes. So I worked with some of those folks. But then we actually moved. It'll be 2 years in the summer since we moved out of the city back to, little suburbs of Bergen County. Timing was right. So I was like, let's do it. So I
Yeah.
feel like I'm trying to now network a little more. Maybe I should add that to my goals.
Yeah,
More
for
networking.
sure.
But it's been awesome, like trying to just find the people in your area, other female business owners,
Yeah.
local, brick and mortars. That kind of makes sense. So I'm kind of feel like not starting over because some of the connections I made in Hoboken maybe aren't translating as much to my new kind of area.
Right.
But just finding people on Instagram, it's a blessing and a curse, this tool that like I had met some amazing
Yeah.
women. I'm getting together with a group of 2 women on Friday that have other kind of pop-up event
I
businesses to
love
just like
that.
chat and see how we can
Work
collaborate.
together.
And,
Yeah.
I met another amazing event planner earlier this year too. And we did an event. I did an awesome tequila tasting for something she was working on.
Cool.
So it's just like, trying to kind of find that community, in the new area. So
Sorry about
yeah,
that.
that's okay. But
We
yeah.
both were saying before we started the podcast, like putting our phones on silent.
Yeah.
And then here, my phone, like, I don't even know what the alarm is
Yeah.
that just went off, but this is life, guys. If you could go back to your younger self, like, what would be the first thing that you would want to tell her?
Just keep going. Keep following the little voice in your head. It's not always easy. Going to have some curveballs. People that maybe you thought would support you along the way, they might not care. They might not give a shit about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But if at your core you feel like you have something good going, like just don't listen to the little voices in your head. Don't listen to the voices in your head, but go with your gut.
Yeah, but it's true because there's like the two
It's
voices. There's the
different.
ego that's talking that's like, are
Mm-hmm.
you sure you can do it?
Yeah,
You sure? I don't think you can. But
absolutely.
then like your gut tells you something where it's like,
You know
girl, be
that feeling.
careful. Like there's a
Exactly.
difference with the two.
100%.
So
A
I get
hundred
that. And I
percent.
love that you said that because a lot of people I feel like too, even just like now
Mm-hmm.
it's hard. It's like you don't know what to do. And it's like this voice is like, well, just don't do it.
Yep.
Don't show up on social
It's
media.
easier to give
Yeah.
in.
Like does your hair really look good today? Like, are
Yeah.
you sure you want to do it? But it's like,
Can't
yeah.
help the little things. Yeah, I saw a quote that was like, winners never quit and quitters never win. And it's
Mm,
like if you just keep going and just that you're onto something or that it's got this like spark or passion that just
yeah.
keep pursuing it. And like you can always go back to the other thing that was working and
Absolutely.
you don't know if you don't try.
Absolutely. And like life goes by so quickly. And if you don't
So short.
bet on yourself, at what point, you know what I mean? Like
You're gonna look back.
you're gonna look back and be like, damn, I wish I did it.
Mm-hmm.
That's like one thing like a couple of years ago, I was like, I'm just gonna live my life with literally, I don't want to wake up and be like, oh, I wish I did, or I wish
Yeah,
I said. So now literally, I don't care if I sound crazy to somebody. Like, listen, I'm in the dating like scene. So like,
yeah,
I don't care if it comes off crazy. Cause I'm like, if I don't say it, I might regret it.
absolutely.
And you never know what's going to happen. And if
Mm-hmm.
I say it and it pushes the person away,
Not for you.
not for me. Thank God.
100%.
But if
Yep.
I say it and it works, I'm like, then that helps. So like I've taken that into like every area of my life because
Yes.
one day we're gonna wake up. I will be
And we might not wake
yeah,
up.
we might not
And
make
yeah,
up. And that's like a whole nother
exactly.
thing. But like you don't want to wake up at 80 and be like, fuck,
I should have done
I
that.
should have took a chance on myself.
Exactly.
And like you said, like you can always go back.
If you need
You
to
could
go
figure
back in corporate, you need to go back to that job, but like at least you can say,
I
I
tried.
gave it a try.
Yeah. I
Pursued.
tried it.
Mm-hmm.
We tried to make it happen and
Exactly.
yeah.
Pivot.
So so this year you talked about the three things that you're, focusing on. What are some like personal things that you want to?
Definitely, I think similar vein of trusting yourself,
Mm-hmm.
the negative self-talk is a struggle for me. I was a dancer as a kid, so you can imagine I had a lot
Yes.
of rough, instructors and competitions. So there was a lot of, negative things being said to young girls about your body, your image, your this, your that. So I
Yeah.
think just trying to overcome, I guess, is that like a childhood trauma? I
Yeah,
don't know.
no, it 1,000%
I
is.
don't
And it's
know.
interesting you said that because I've noticed like a lot of
Hmm.
people who have done dance and
It was rough.
it's a pattern that it's something that it is a trauma that you could definitely.
Yeah. So I feel like, I can see the pizza that you ate for lunch. I'm like 8 years old. Like, what do you want from me?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think that comes up a lot and
Mm-hmm.
sort of like what we were saying before about not listening to the ego or your imposter syndrome. I think
Yeah.
just trying to kind of combat that and just shift my mindset. I've gone through some dark periods mentally where I'm like, why the hell am I doing this? Someone else is doing this or doing it better than me. But I'm like, no, like, so at the beginning of the year I did, it was Gabby Bernstein. She's an amazing,
Yeah.
life coach, whatever. I did one of her manifesting challenges, whether you believe in that or, praying to God or whatever power that be. But
Yeah.
she just really guided you through like a 21-day challenge of like reframing your mindset. And like
Yeah.
one thing that stood out to me a lot that I've been trying to do, it's like when you see someone who has something that you want, whether they open a brick and mortar location or they're working with an ideal client, instead of seeing that as like, dagger to your heart, like, why isn't it me? To look at that as what she was calling driftwood, as it's like, it's close to me, it's floating. It's like,
It's
these
showing
are
you what's
coming to
possible.
me.
Yeah.
So that's something I've been working on. I mean, we're in the middle of February now, but like that was a great way to start my year.
Absolutely.
Am I perfect? Do I still have those moments where I'm like, this, I'm gonna just like go cry in the closet? Like,
Sometimes you need that.
yes, that is true. That is true. We do need to get that
Let
out
it out.
sometimes. But I've just been trying to think, and social media has not been helpful for
Yeah.
women. I feel terrible for young girls that,
Yeah.
so it's like you see people, but you can't always believe what you see.
You
And it's
can't.
like, use it as inspiration, motivation. Like, again, like we live in a massive state where one state, like you could be in North Jersey, Central Jersey. Like,
Yeah.
there is enough to go around that we need to just
Absolutely.
like not, let that get to you. So I think
There's an abundance. But I agree. I
Mhm.
think that like you're not the only one that struggles with that. And like you're not alone.
hard.
And it's like, doing the self-work is so, so huge. And that's something that I've been like also
Mhm.
diving into more because it's like when those thoughts come up of like you're not good enough or like
It's
you
just
can't do
like,
this or like
yeah.
why don't it's like why? And like when you actually sit and like talk to yourself, like
Mhm.
talk to that like little thing
Yeah.
in your head that's like what like you figure out, okay, well that's not true.
Yeah.
Like and then when you said like with the other people, like it shows you where you can go, but it's also like celebrate them. Because when you're
Exactly.
celebrating them too, it's like it helps bring in more like
Yep.
abundance to you, like the
Exactly.
clients to the whatever it is. And like you see that person have that and you're like, wow, you know what? I can get that. I
Exactly.
want a farm. I'm going to get that farm
Hell
because you know
yeah.
what? Like if that person can have it, I'll figure it out too. You know what I mean? Like you
Exactly.
just have to and like cry if you have to cry.
Mhm.
Like allow yourself to feel the
Oh, yeah.
emotions, but like just remember like you got this and like you're
Exactly.
gonna, you've been through
Yep.
worse and just but it is a lot from our childhood
Yeah. That just
and
gets in your head and
it's great like so how old are you?
I will be 35 this year.
Oh my God, me too. So think about it.
Mid-30s.
Think about it. 34 years of us like programmed with certain things in our mind that
Mhm.
whether it was from family,
Yeah.
the
The diet
the
culture in the 90s was
yeah,
like I found something in my childhood bedroom and it was like, 2 strawberries, a banana, and
what?
maybe hot chocolate. I'm like, was this like my diet plan as a kid? Like,
And
this is not good.
it's crazy. Like
Special
it
K
was
diet. Like, oh my
yeah.
God, it was toxic at
Every and
its
like the
peak.
food wasn't good either. Like like the Weight Watchers and
No.
the counting the calories and the points. Like you see your like and you're like, wow, this is what it's supposed to be like, and it
Yeah,
gets in your head. And then,
absolutely.
yeah, like you said, I feel bad for the younger generation with social media because then people also aren't truly showing up as them. They have the
Exactly.
filters on. They're like,
Hmm.
it's not really them, and you're like, wow, well, if I don't look like that, like why, like would anybody really
Hmm.
want to work with me or want
Yeah,
to? So
it's true.
it's a struggle, but at least it's something that you're working on. I love that.
Consciously trying
Yeah.
to make a shift.
Yeah. I mean, we start somewhere.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
working like mindset is a forever work in
Yes.
progress. And
Try to just change it. So working on
I
that.
love that. Do you feel like being a business owner has helped you be more like confident and like, because like there's situations where I feel like you're
Yeah,
forced to be like you have to walk into rooms, you're
exactly.
meeting new people, clients, like going into a bunch of situations
Yeah,
that you've.
definitely. And I think I always call myself like an extroverted introvert, where I definitely skew more extrovert, which is great because I am constantly just like
Mhm.
talking to people.
Yeah.
But there's like those times when I'm like driving to an event, like you were saying, where I'm like, I had a really crappy day or I didn't sleep well. And I'm just like, I don't want to be on right now. And you just kind of have to
You
like
have to, yeah.
just put on a smile and like, they feed off of your energy
A
too. So
thousand
like, and I've
percent.
been in events where the people like, they don't even know each other. So I'm like, all right, well, I got to get everyone together. So like,
Really? That's interesting.
yeah, there was a group that was in an apartment building, and I guess they like met at the beginning of the summer. decided to get together at the end of the summer. So they hadn't seen each other in months, and they're like all different walks of life, these women, but like they've only hung out one time. And
so you're like, oh,
yeah, they didn't have music on. I was like, I keep my little speakers like, let's put some tunes on.
You're like,
I'm like,
this.
oh my God. But so yeah, you kind of have to, just to your point, like you kind of have to fake it till you make it, whether you feel good that day or not. Like you want to show up. And again, I said like the consumer experience is like if my consumers and my clients are not having a good time or enjoying, then it's like I feel like I failed them.
Yeah.
So you kind of just gotta like slap on a face and smile
go.
and just get it done.
And then usually it's crazy because like afterwards, like I don't know if you feel this way too. If like you were feeling a type of way, like after the event, you're like, I feel better because you're able, like you're doing something that you love, and like because you did like kind of like force yourself to be in that happy phase, like like phase. When you left, you're like, okay, I feel better.
Exactly.
But sometimes you got to cry it out right before you get there.
Yeah,
Like
scream in the car, like
blast
like
music,
2000 emo music, like
get it all out. Get it all out.
Yeah, it's like the same thing. It's like you wake up, you want to go to the gym, whatever, you do it and you're done. So it's like I kind of feel like it's like that. You just gotta, like, force yourself to do it.
You got to do it.
Yep.
So I want to have you on again because I feel like we could definitely keep going. But something I do like to ask everybody at the end is, and I don't prep people for it because I want your true answer for it.
I'm ready.
All right. So, and I got this from the Lewis Howes podcast. I kind of like, I try to like ask it how he asked it, but I always butcher it. And like, so
you put your own spin on it.
I put my own little spin on it. So let's say it's 90 years from now. Because we're going to be living till we're like,
oh, you know it.
We're living forever.
You
but
know it.
Let's just say it's in the future. It's your last day. And everything that you've ever done has been like wiped away. So when you look you up, like you can't find anything except for 3 things. There's only 3 things that you could share. It could be a quote. It could be something you learned that you want to pass down for generations to know. What would these 3 things be?
Okay. I think one we talked about earlier that you said that my dad also has always taught me that if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Yeah.
If you don't shoot your shot, you're just never going to know. So I love to have that as like just an inspirational bit.
Love that.
I think I got to leave behind some like amazing cocktail recipes.
Yeah, girl. I feel like
my spicy margarita is kind of my signature. So
does this mean like a book might be in the future?
I've been asked this question before, Amanda, and I'm like, I think this is something else that's maybe brewing.
A recipe book.
Something that's stirring in the background.
I mean, hey.
And the third thing that's only left behind. Oh, this is a kind of tough question.
It is. And it gets you thinking too, because you're like, damn, only 3 things. Because it's like sometimes you want, like, I have a lot I would want to share, but
I might have just found a loophole. Is this allowed? My biography?
Anything. You did. That is a loophole. That is a loophole. I'm like, nothing else is allowed. She's like, well, actually,
paragraph about who I was. Oh my gosh. Now let me see what else. I mean, we have my inspirational quote from my dad. I gotta leave some recipes behind for the people. And maybe, I mean, a dream of mine was to have an actual location. So is it like a sign for my store that was left behind?
Girl.
My plant cocktail tool event space.
Ooh.
A sign for that. There we go.
Wow.
I'll play the rules.
I love it. She's like, I'll play by the rules. I love it. Oh,
I'm excited. Cool sign.
I'm excited for that.
Yes.
Girl, so you got
I have a vision. If there's any investors out there listening, I will happily take your money and spend it wisely.
Yeah. Spend it wisely and you'll make it back.
Exactly.
Triple.
Exactly.
Triple. So can you just tell everybody where they can find you, connect with you, if they want to work with you, what, just all the things.
Absolutely. I'm here for all of your cocktail and event needs. You can find me at Jersey Drinks on Instagram, jerseydrinks.com. You can get all my contact info, fill out a form. Let's do something awesome together. Yeah. Or as I say, let's shake up something delicious.
Let's do it. Guys, thank you for tuning in today for this special episode. And like I said, we are going to have you back on again because we can keep going. And I feel like you brought so much knowledge. And I appreciate you so much for being on today.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you guys for listening. And we'll talk real soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.